All right, settle in, because you are not going to believe the length some people will go to just to shave a few minutes off their day. I swear I probably hold the unofficial record for the most repeatedly demolished fence in the county, maybe even the state. All thanks to one particular HOA, Karen, let's call her Brenda, because honestly her real name's probably even more prone to demanding a manager. Now Brenda, with her permanent scowl and a gas-guzzling SUV the size of a small rhino, decided that my property line was less of a rule and more of a suggestion, something she could just bulldoze right over whenever it suited her. The saga began after I'd settled into what I thought would be my peaceful suburban paradise. My house sits at the end of a quiet cul-de-sac, but the way the streets snake around you could shave off about 3 minutes by cutting the corner of my side yard instead of going the long way. And yes, I actually timed it. My fence on that side, a classic 4-foot wooden picket job, wasn't exactly Fort Knox. It was more about looks than defense, the kind of thing that keeps out dogs, not determined suburbanites with somewhere to be. Or, as I discovered, Karens in a hurry. The first time it happened, I found a couple of pickets knocked loose and some faint tire marks. I figured some teenager messed up a turn or someone's Uber driver got lost and panicked. Whatever. I fixed it and didn't think much of it. A week later, bang same spot but worse, a whole section hanging off tire tracks dug deeper like whoever did it just didn't care. That's when Mr. Henderson, my neighbor across the street, comes shuffling over, pipe in hand, tells me with a sigh, "That'll be Brenda again. Seen her black tank cutting that corner plenty. Acts like the whole neighborhood's her driveway. Now Brenda doesn't even live on our street, but she's a legend. At the HOA meetings, always up in arms about mailbox colors and grass length, never about her own behavior. I'd seen her a couple times, usually holding court on why the rules don't apply to her. So, next time I saw her at home, I decided, you know what, let's try the civilized route. I walk over, ring her bell, and she answers in yoga pants worth more than my monthly groceries. Barely lets me finish a sentence before cutting me off with that frozen smile, the kind that never touches her eyes. I explain as calmly as possible about the fence getting wrecked, that my neighbor saw her SUV and maybe she could, I don't know, not cut through my yard. She looks at me like I'm accusing her of a felony. Scoffs, tells me her vehicle has the best sensors money can buy, and if my fence keeps getting hit, maybe I should build a real one or just move it away from traffic, which is rich since my fence is a solid 3 feet inside my property line. Then she hits me with, "If you have a problem, take it up with the HOA," and slams the door. Polite conversation went nowhere, so I decided to step up my game. Repaired the fence with sturdier hardware, and this time I installed a small, nearly invisible security camera tucked under the eaves. I didn't even have to wait a week before Brenda's behemoth shows up right on cue, hops the curb, plows through my yard, and smacks right into my fence. The camera catches everything crystal clear. She doesn't even slow down, just keeps rolling like it's part of her daily commute. Now I'm fuming. This isn't a mistake. This is her deciding my property is less important than her precious 3 minutes. So I email the HOA video, attached full explanation, CC'd Brenda for good measure. Brenda shoots back that my video's obviously doctored and I'm harassing her. The HOA classic tells me it's a private dispute and suggests mediation. Mediation. With someone who says video evidence is fake and slams her SUV through my yard. Sure. So after the next time my fence gets smashed, I skip the emails and go straight to what I do best. See, I'm not just some hobbyist with a hammer. I'm a structural engineer, and at this point, Brenda's underestimated just who she's dealing with. Every week or two, another hit. I start keeping a digital scrapbook, photos, videos, receipts, the works. Every time I fix the fence a little stronger, as if I'm running a science experiment on what it'll take to stop her. The HOA is useless suggesting thorny bushes like that's going to slow down 2 tons of entitlement. By now, Brenda's turned herself into a local villain, but the board's scared of her because she's threatened to sue over everything from newsletters to someone's front door wreath. Mr. Henderson just shakes his head and tells me some fights aren't worth it. But you know what? This became my hill to die on a matter of principle and maybe a little bit of spite. So I start planning. What if my fence looked like the old wooden one, but underneath it was basically a steel wall? I spend a few weekends sketching, measuring, and scouring hardware stores. Settle on hollow steel tubing for the bones, steel plates for the pickets, everything painted and distressed to match the old fence. Even found a gruff metalworker who, after hearing the story, was all too happy to help. You keeping out elephants or just one particularly thick-skulled neighbor, he laughs. I tell him just a persistent pest. So I build what I start calling the fortress fence steel concrete footings deeper than necessary pickets and rails perfectly camouflaged. From the street, it looks like nothing special. But if you hit it, oh man, you'd know. Install it quietly over a couple weekends, sand the paint so it blends. Even get Mr. Henderson watching from his porch, probably rooting for a little neighborhood justice. Then I wait. 3 days. Brenda, right on schedule, comes barreling around the corner. This time I'm watching the camera feed, and as soon as her SUV hits that fence, the sound is beautiful. Not the usual crack of wood, just a dull metallic thud. Her SUV lurches and comes to a dead stop, front end crumpled like a soda can. She gets out wild-eyed, shrieking at the fence, tries to yank at nothing. It doesn't move, not even a wiggle. Neighbors come out to see what's going on. Mr. Henderson gives me a slow clap from his porch. Brenda, for her part, calls the cops ranting about my trap fence. I call the non-emergency line and explain that there's been a single vehicle accident. Driver seems unhurt, just maybe a bit riled. Cops show up, see the tire tracks, the smashed SUV, and my perfect untouched fence. Brenda's losing it, yelling about how I must have booby-trapped it, but the officers are not buying it. They ask if I want to press charges for property damage, tempting, but I play it cool. The fence did just fine, I say. Brenda gets cited for reckless driving and her SUV's towed, leaving behind a trail of embarrassment and one hell of a repair bill. I'd love to say that's the end, but if you think a true HOA Karen gives up, think again. A week later, I get served. She's suing me for damages to her vehicle emotional distress and claims I built a hazardous obstruction. I nearly spit out my coffee reading that. My insurance company, after watching the video evidence, basically laughs, assigns a tough-as-nails lawyer, and says, "Let's see how this plays out." My neighbor volunteers as a witness, says Brenda's been using my lawn as her shortcut for months. Court day comes and Brenda's lawyer tries painting her as the innocent commuter victimized by my death trap. My lawyer, cool as ice, rolls out the greatest hits video after video of Brenda bashing my fence. The police report, all my repair receipts, Mr. Henderson's affidavit. When Brenda tries to explain how she accidentally drove off the road, the judge looks at her like she's lost her mind. When she admits she thought my fence should be less sturdy so she wouldn't get hurt, you could see everyone in the courtroom holding back a laugh. The judge drops the hammer, calls her lawsuit absurd, says she brought every bit of damage on herself and that she's lucky I haven't sued her for all the prior repairs. My lawyer files a counterclaim right then and there. Judge grants it. Brenda has to pay for my past repairs court costs and gets a solid warning about ever trying that shortcut again. The HOA, bless their bureaucratic hearts, sends me a thank you for resolving a community concern letter after months of ignoring my complaints. Brenda's SUV, I heard, took months to fix and her insurance wouldn't cover it. She disappeared for a while, and when she finally showed her face, you can bet she never so much as glanced at my fence. My fortress fence became a bit of a local legend, with Mr. Henderson telling the story to anyone who'd listen, pipe-waving, embellishing it more each time. The best part, the peace and quiet. No more waking up to see my yard torn up. No more dealing with pointless HOA emails, just me and my fortress standing strong. And let's be honest, sometimes I walk out and give that steel picket a little tap just for luck. So here's what I'll leave you with. Sometimes the only way to stop a bully is to out-stubborn them out, engineer them, and document everything. If you've got your own Brenda, don't give up. Sometimes justice just needs a little creative reinforcement. Now, I want to hear from you. What would you have done in my shoes? Was I too harsh? Or is this just what community justice looks like? Drop your thoughts in the comments, share your own war stories, and let's talk about where you draw the line between standing up for yourself and going too far. Catch you next time.